Hello, everybody. So what we're going to be doing in this video is going over how to do Lab Zero, which is essentially getting the software installed that we're going to use for this class. So there should be separate videos for Windows, Mac OS, and other, basically. Although I do strongly recommend that if you have access to a Windows computer or a Mac OS computer, that you use those rather than using a Chromebook or something like that. Because with a Chromebook, you'll be stuck with an online platform, uh, unless you want to jump through a lot of hoops and it's a lot of trouble. Um, and on a Chromebook, there'll be some stuff that you can't do like later in the semester. And it's fun stuff, not required stuff, but still, you'll be a little bit like limited if you have only a Chromebook for this class. So, best case scenario, you have a Windows or a Mac OS PC or computer, laptop, whatever. So, this is the Mac OS instructions. So, if you have a Windows computer, look for the other video. Now, what we want to do first is get the Eclipse IDE installed. So IDE is Integrated Developer Environment or Integrated Development Environment, depending on what you want to say. And that's what we use to actually write our programs. And there are a lot of IDEs out there, and you can use another one for this class if you really wanted to. However, I'm not going to make videos about how to install it and how to set it up and so on. So we're going to use Eclipse for this class by default because it's the install procedure is pretty straightforward and it works well for this class, even if there's others that you may want to use. So to get the Eclipse IDE started or installed, you click the link that says Eclipse Downloads, which takes you here. And the link that you want is the one on the left, not the right. And you just click download. Now, when you do, it offers you two choices here. Now, on a Mac like this, um, there are two options. The first option, x86-64, is for the old Intel-based Macs. So those primarily existed in the year 2020 and earlier. They used Intel processors. However, once Apple released Apple Silicon, the M1 processor, so there was an M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, M6 processors, then those are ARM processors, which is what the second option is for. So I'm on an M3 Max, so I want the second option. So anything since 2020, 2021 is probably the second option here. So you click the download that, and then you click the download again, and that should automatically start a download. Now, we're not going to wait for it because I already downloaded this because this is the second time I'm making this video. So I've got down here, I've already got this file downloaded, so I'll just cancel this one. And we have the Eclipse installer here. So I'll double click on this and it will open up a disk image like this. Now, on Mac applications, you normally drag the application over to applications. I don't think that's what we want to do here. I think we can just double click this and run it. And when we double click this and run it, it says Eclipse installer. After a minute, it will pop up this, and these are the options that we want. Now, for Java development, for this class, we'll just choose the top option, right? Because the top option says Eclipse IDE for Java developers. That's us. So we just take the top option, and then we don't want to change the top one for sure. That's the Java version that it's going to install. And then the installation folder here, it's by default, it's installing into my home folder, not to applications, but that's fine. I'm going to let it install there. So just leave this all the way it is and just click install. So this will take a minute. Usually it pops up a thing up here telling me that it's installing slower than usual. Um, Somehow Eclipse always installs slower than usual. And then when it's done, we can launch this. Okay. And so we've installed the software now. It should be opening up. Um, Is that this? Yeah, that's this. So I don't know why it didn't pop up, but when the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to tell you to select a directory as your workspace, and you can just leave it as the default. And you should probably check the box to tell it to not ask you it again so that you don't have to answer this question every time you run the software. So you do all that, you click launch. It says, for me, I've got older files. You're not going to have that issue probably, but I'm going to say don't worry about it. And then I'm going to continue. And then, oopsies, I already had this open. Let me close it. You should not have this. I'm going to retry. It should work. And then you have Eclipse IDE, in this case, 2026-06, which means this is the June version of this. Now, when you first open this up, come on, you're going to get, it's going to look like this, I think. So you're going to have a big banner up here, and that's what you're going to have. And you can close this if you want, but what I'm going to do is way over here. It's hard to see, but there's like next to this toolbar, there's a little kind of thing that says restore. That's actually not what I wanted. Um, so in order to get it back, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to click on Window, um, Show View, and I'm going to click Package Explorer. You don't really have to do this, but it's good to know where this is anyway. And these are all the projects that I have on my computer. You have 0 projects, so you're not going to have these. Okay. Now, that's it. That's the software installed. Now, I'm going to close it real quick. And we don't need this anymore. And we don't need this anymore. And so if I go to my applications and I look for Eclipse, I currently have 2 versions here. That's actually kind of a problem since it doesn't say which one's the one I just installed. Think it's the first one. Let's try it. Try it. Nope, that's the old one. It's the same, but I want to install the newest one, second one. Okay, there we go. Um, so once it's installed, it's installed. We don't have to run that installer program every time, and we have something like this. Although you will have no packages. It's opening the same stuff again from last time. Um, anyway, now I think I can click this and have it show up here. I don't know why I had to go to the window, um, show view package explorer before, but we did. So we did. Anyway, that's it. The software is installed and is currently running, and we know how to open it. Now back over to Lab Zero, we need to try to run and make a Java project. So we opened Eclipse and we want to create a new project. Now, as it says here, we want File, New Java Project. So File, New Java Project. And it pops up this window. Now, we can name the project whatever we want. I'll call it Lab 00. Now, you may notice that I have a space there in the name, and that's fine for project names. I did that on purpose. Another thing you want to be careful of is yours is not going to look quite like this because yours is going to have this box checked. Down here it says module, create module info.java. It needs to be unchecked. Uncheck this box. Uncheck this box, give it a name, and then click finish. And when you do that, it will add it over here. Now you're only going to have one, so it's going to be easier to find. If you don't have this panel over here, remember the way I got it before, it was window, show view, package explorer. That's what brings this window up. So you can get there if it disappears on you. So we have lab 00 there. The next thing to do is going to be to click this little caret on the side and then click on SRC. And I'll show you down here. So look, click the little arrow. And it says right click on SRC. and then do new class. So I can right click here or, two finger tap on Mac and do new class. Or with the SRC selected, you can do file, new class that way. There's always multiple ways to get the same thing, and it doesn't matter which way you do it. So we want new class or new class. And it brings up this window. So this window is going to create a file in our project. So we created a project called Lab00, but we have no files. So this will create a file. Now, there's rules for the names here. So I'm going to call this Lab00 again, but I'm actually not allowed to use a space in the name of a class. So I want to start it with a capital letter and use no spaces. So I used an underscore instead of a space. And down here it says, which method stubs would you like to create? And you should check the top box most of the time for this class. So pay attention, check the box, give it a name, don't use a space, hit finish. And that creates a blank program. And this is a comment. It doesn't need to be there. You can delete it if you want. You can leave it if you want. So this is what a blank Java project looks like. Every Java file is going to be a class, and the name of the class, in this case lab00, will match up with the file name lab00.java. And inside of the class, which opens with curly braces and ends with curly braces, we have this part right here, which is what we call the main method. And our code for our program goes in here. So all of our code is going to be in this section. All semester, well, most of the semester. So we did that, and it says you should see the basic structure, add a line to print a message. So I say, add this line, system.out.println. That is an L right there, not a 1, not an I. It is a lowercase l. So print line or println, hello world. You can say whatever you want, actually. So system.out.println, parentheses. Notice I typed 1 parentheses and it created 2. It does that because it knows if you open parentheses, you need to close them. So it did both. Quotes, again, it added 2 quotes. And then in here, you can say whatever you want. So I'll say, hi there. And then I have to go to the end of the line and put a semicolon. Now you may notice that if I don't do that, over here, there's a little red X. And that little red X is telling me there's a problem with the code that I'm writing. And it says, in fact, it says insert semicolon to complete. So if I add the semicolon, it disappears. So be on the lookout for things that are labeled as errors on the right. You can see them early. All right, so I added this line. Now I want to run my program to see if it works. So there's a lot of ways to do that. You can go to run, or there's a green play button right here. There's other green play buttons, but you would want the first one. And so you can click the first green button, or you can go run. And I didn't save my file, so it asks me if I want to save it. And you do. You have to save it in order to run it. So just say okay. And down here, it says hi there. So this statement prints out whatever text you put in the quotes. So I put hi there, so it prints hi there. And that's it. That's our first program. So you can see here it was hello world. And then we're done. So the only thing that's left to do for this first lab is to submit the file. And notice the note here. It says there's a much easier way to submit a Java file than described below. So there are instructions here that tell you how to submit the file one way, but I'm going to ignore those instructions. So the easiest way to submit the file is scroll all the way down here to where it says drag a file here to upload. This is where you submit your work. Go back over to Eclipse. And right now, Eclipse is taking up a lot of space. Maybe you have it maximized, like maybe you've done this and maximized it. You don't really want that. Make it smaller. So if I just make this a little bit smaller here so that I can see Eclipse and my web browser on the same screen, what I want to do to turn in this file is find the file over here. So in lab 0, under src, under default package, we see lab00.java. That's this file. And I can submit it just by dragging it from here to here. Now be careful. You can't drag it from here. You have to drag it from here. So drag it from here to here. And when I do that, oops, I don't know what happened. It shows up here, right? File name lab00.java. There's a little checkbox next to it for some reason. That's it. That is what we needed to do. And so to submit this assignment, I just click Submit Assignment. And I've now turned it in. And when you do that, you may get a preview of the file. Like this is loading a preview of the file that I just turned in. That's what the box, that's why the spinny thing is there. There it is. That's the file I just turned in. That may or may not show up for you. It kind of depends on the Canvas version. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what updates have been installed. So it doesn't matter if the preview shows up for you. So don't worry about that. If you submitted the file, which I can see here, then I'm good. So that was the entire assignment. And yeah, that was the entire assignment. And so we're done with lab 00. Now you want to pay attention to the steps here about like how to create a project, like file new Java project, make sure to uncheck create module info.java, um, how to do the new class, um, the fact that there's names that you might have to pay attention to, that kind of thing. That process of creating an empty project, you have to do every time we're doing a lab, maybe multiple times. So hopefully you got something out of that. But you know, this is the process that you go through. And there'll be videos for every lab though. So, you know, you're not going to see this one time. You're going to see it many times. All right, that's it for now. I will talk to you guys later.